Hello and welcome. By the time we get to the end of this video, you'll be able to turn any clip you have into a hologram. It's incredibly easy, straightforward, it looks great, so let's get on with it. Okay, so let's start by setting up our Fusion clip. We're going to need a background and a logo. So let's start by getting those on the timeline. You can either insert them or you can drag them. I'm going to show both methods here. Now a quick tip here, when you insert your logo, drag it so it's the same length as the clip that you want it to work with. It's a little tip and it will make your life a lot easier when you come to do animations. So that's looking good. So we're going to select both clips. We're now going to create a new Fusion clip. And then finally right click and open it up in the Fusion page. So excellent, that's all looking great. So let's just organize ourselves now. So what I'm going to do is rename my media clips. You don't have to do this, but it's nice to be organized. So I'm just going to drag this one up into the window to see which one it is. And this one's the background. So what I'm going to do is use F2 to rename it. Then I'll do exactly the same thing again with the logo. I'll just drag it up. Obviously it is the logo. We've only got 2 clips. And again use F2 to rename it, just to be nice and organized. And just to finish tidying up, let's move things around a little bit so we've got some space to start putting in our nodes. Now make sure your logo media is selected, then hit the Shift and the space bar, and we're looking for the DVE node. Just find it and then hit add and you'll see it's automatically added to the tree. So now we can repeat the process again. So make sure your DVE is selected, hit the Shift and the space bar, and this time we're looking for brightness and contrast. Hit the add button and again it's added in. Let's repeat that again for shadow. So make sure your node is selected, Shift space bar. Let's do the same thing again for soft glow. And then finally, let's do it for the flicker addition node. Excellent. So now we have our node tree completely built and everything's ready to start creating our hologram effect. To keep everything easy and understandable, what I'm going to do initially is I'm going to deactivate all my nodes. So when we start to put the settings on, we'll activate each node as we go. That way we really get a clear idea of which node is affecting which part of our hologram effect. Obviously you wouldn't do this in real life, but just for the sake of this tutorial, this is going to make things a little bit easier for us going forwards. Okay, so let's start by setting the transparency of our hologram. So what we need to do is just activate the brightness and contrast control. Very important, we must turn on the alpha channel, otherwise this isn't going to work at all. And then we can use the gain to move up and down to set the transparency. Now obviously depending on the background track that you're working with will affect the transparency, and it's all personal preference. Okay, so that looks about right to me. Obviously we can come back and adjust it again later if we need to, but I think we're good to go. Next we need to activate our shadow node, so we do that. And we can now pick the colour. So I'm going to pick the cyan colour. It's a classic hologram colour, but of course you can pick any colour you want depending on the clip you're working with or the effect you're trying to achieve. But I think cyan's going to work for me with my background. And once you've picked your colour, the next control you may want to experiment with is the softness. And as you can see, we can move it and it creates like a halo effect. But it's up to you. And again, it comes down to personal preference. And we can also change this after we've activated other nodes. So, but that looks okay for me for now. So I think we're good to go. So now it's time for the soft glow. So let's activate that. And the 3 main settings that you probably want to experiment with is the gain, the threshold, and the blend settings. As you can see here, I'm going to slide mine around and you'll get some ideas of how it affects the overall hologram that we're trying to achieve. But again, it's all personal preference. Experiment, play around with it, and see what works for you with the clip that you're working with. But these settings seem to work for me for my clip, so I'm good to go. So let's carry on. So at this point, you could stop. It looks like a hologram and we could go on to the animation. But the Flickr Edition node that we've added and we haven't used yet, for me is the one that really sells this as a hologram. So it's an optional, you don't have to use it, but I'm going to add it in and show you in this demonstration. And then you could decide if you're going to use it or not in the hologram that you're going to be creating. Okay, so let's activate our Flickr node. And then once we've done that, let's hit the play button and let's see what the default looks like. So as you can see, it's flickering, but it doesn't look quite right. So it doesn't really match in with what we're trying to achieve. So let's have a look at some of the settings that you probably want to focus on and play around with and experiment with to get the look that you're after. So we do have quite a few different controls that we can use on the Flickr to get the effect we want. I would suggest to start is to go with the speed and the random scale. They're good places to start and give you an overall effect that you're looking for. Once you've got those two dialed in, then it's a question of maybe tweaking them with the other controls. So let me show you what I mean by that. So just to give you an idea, what I've done here is speed up my workflow, just to show the order in which I changed the settings on the Flickr to get it and dialed in exactly how I want it. Again, it all comes down to personal preference, but once you start playing with the controls, you'll get a feel for it, and it's quite good fun. So these were the numbers I settled on for my clip, but again, it's all up to you. Try it out, see what works for you with your clips. And remember, the Flickr node is not always necessary. It really does depend on the overall effect you're trying to achieve. But if you do use it, have some fun with it, and it can really sell the hologram effect. So now we have the hologram looking the way we want it. The final step is to animate it. So let's do that next. Now, before we can start animating our hologram, the first thing we need to do is get it in the right position. So we want it to appear as the guy opens his hand up. So let's do that first. I believe it's frame 190, but let's have a look. Yep, 190 looks good to me. So now we need to activate our DVE control. So let's do that now. And now we can use the X move control and the center points to get our hologram in the right position. So let's do that now. So, yep. So that's looking good. Yep, and I think that looks about right. We're going to be using a mask to create the illusion of the hologram appearing as our character opens his hand. So let's go and do that first. So I need to click on my logo media and then click on the rectangle tool. This will attach a mask to my node. So I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to open both of the windows up, then drag my logo media into my first window. Now, because the mask is set at its default size, I can only see sort of middle part of my logo. So what I'm going to do is use the height and width controls to adjust my mask so I can see the whole of my logo. Okay, so now we are ready to create our animation. I need to make sure I am at frame 190. So let's do that. And add a keyframe to our rectangle center control. Now, because I want my hologram to start hidden, what I'm going to do first is use the Y control to drag my hologram down out of view. Now I need to move forward to frame 200, so let's do that now. And at this frame, we want our hologram to appear. So what I'm going to do is again use the center control and the Y axis to slide back up so that my hologram is now visible again. So let's try it out. Yep, and as you can see, our hologram is appearing. Brilliant. So the animation is working, but it's a little bit aggressive and instant. So to smooth this out a bit, what we're going to do is we're going to use the ease in and ease out. So click on your spline tool, making sure that your rectangle was already selected. We need to make sure that our keyframes are selected with these tick boxes here. What we're going to do is hit this icon here to get things to fit so we can see our keyframes. And then press S on my keyboard to smooth everything out. So as you can see, we've now got this kind of curve appearing. So that's much better. So let's try it out. And as you can see, we get a much more realistic type of animation. So great, that's good. Let's carry on. So now we're going to add the rotation to our hologram. So we're going to do that on the DBE control. So let's click on that to start with. So we know that our hologram appeared at frame 210. So let's start our animation off at frame 220. So let's move to that frame first. So we're going to be using our Y rotation control to create this animation. So let's add a keyframe to that control to start with. So I'm now going to jump to the very end of my clip, which is frame 540 in my case. And what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to use the Y control. And this time I'm going to type in 360, the degrees that it's rotated. So let's do that. And let's try it out. So as you can see, there's my animation appearing. And then the rotation is starting. So that's looking really good. So let's do what we did before and smooth this out. So again, let's use the spline control to select our keyframes for our rotation and add some easing. So we've now learned the whole process from beginning to end to create a hologram and animate it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my screen capture to our animation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn some music up and I'm just going to go through it. There's nothing new to learn, but it's slightly different in the way that I position it. So sit back, turn the music up, and I'll add my screen capture to our clip. Okay, so we've made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed that. We've covered a lot of stuff, a lot of techniques that you can use in Davinci Resolve. Please leave comments and hit the notify button for more videos coming. And please subscribe. Really appreciate it. It really helps me out. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. So have a great day and see you soon.